Would like to start off by welcoming you to this session on the holistic human development, value-based planning and management model on community-based driven development. There's been a slight change on our schedule. I was said to be the moderator. My name is Donald Bozo. You will get another introduction about myself from Dr. Phillips. But we now have Dr. Charles Phillips as the moderator for this session. And I'm going to take the privilege of introducing Dr. Phillips to you, and he's going to be moderating this session. So Dr. Charles Phillips serves in senior leadership roles for several global non-profit organizations that drive development of individuals and communities and through the shared experience of voluntary service. He is also a university professor whose courses build leadership skills in community-based service learning methods and nonprofit management. As the executive director of the Alllights Village program of Global Peace Foundation, Dr. Phillips is also leading the development of a lab of social and civic entrepreneurship to support community-based development in communities in East and West Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. And he's also the president of an international organization, Service of Peace, where he leads strategic development of programs that bring diverse groups of volunteers together as catalysts to open opportunities in low-income and under-resourced communities. Dr. Phillips has also lectured in more than 25 countries on the role of service in fostering a just and civil society and the role of advocacy in social reform and volunteer management. He is fluent in Russian and has presented in the republics of the former Soviet Union, China, Mongolia, Indonesia, the Philippines, and India. And with those words, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to help me welcome Dr. Charles Phillips on stage.
So good afternoon. Been a long day already, I know, for you. And I hope that we can make our session very stimulating for you at the end of your day, and also a little bit interactive as much as we can. And to set the tone for that, I'd like to just get kind of an idea of who we have in the room and perhaps your particular interest. How many people here are involved already in community development in your areas? Do we have any Okay, very good, very good. Are there people that are particularly interested in implementing the, for example, the Alllights Village program that is represented here in your communities in some way? Or you came here to find out about it and to see how it might apply to work that you're doing? Okay, very good, very good. We'll certainly work on addressing that. Are there any particular areas of interest that people have that you would like to voice out that our speakers can speak to involving community-based development or community-driven development? Pardon? You'll listen and then, okay, and then we will leave time for questions. Does that work? Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so this session also will be what I hope will be a good preparation for a session that we'll have tomorrow morning, a workshop session, and that we can deal more directly with issues and your interests, and we can have a dialogue together based upon the good foundation today. And I think I'd like to begin the session with a recognition of Nelson Mandela's contribution and remarks on the eradication of poverty, which is very much connected with this issue. This day I think will be marked in history by many of us, thinking back on where were you the day that Nelson Mandela passed away. And even though technically it was 11:50, which means yesterday in South Africa, it was today, our time. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I happened to turn on the television and then got the breaking news and then listened there. So I wanted to begin with some of his words based on a speech that he gave February the 3rd, 2005, on ending poverty. And he said that overcoming poverty is not just a task of charity. It is an act of justice. Like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made, and it can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. And he gave clear steps on what's necessary to eradicate poverty for developing nations. The first two were, first of all, just trade between developing and developed countries. The second one was ending the debt crisis of developing countries. The third step is very applicable to our discussion here, but it's to deliver much more aid and make sure that it is of the highest quality. And that's the topic that actually our session here is speaking directly towards. Because when we talk about what is aid, or what is a development program of the highest quality, well, when we look on past models of aid, poor and marginalized people have often been viewed as the target of poverty reduction efforts rather than partners in the effort to address their development challenges. Unlike this traditional form of foreign aid, community-based development respects and values the culture, traditions, and institutions of communities and seeks to nurture their strengths and resilience. This identity facilitates common understandings, traditions, and values, all central to the identification of plans of action to improve well-being. Culture influences the confidence rural communities have for coming together to address specific needs and problems. This local commitment among residents can serve as a valuable tool in shaping the effectiveness of development programs. This is why I have strong conviction that the Global Peace Foundation is most certainly on the right track and taking a values-based approach to development, emphasizing family and spirituality. Community-based development absolutely depends on the attitudes and behaviors of members of the community. They have to be able to go beyond narrow self-interest and short-term goals in order to cooperate in identifying and fulfilling common goals. They have to trust each other and invest their energy in activities that will benefit the whole as opposed to the individual. Unity, trust, self-sacrifice, delayed gratification, these are all key to successful community development. At this point, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Dr. David Yu, who is the chairman of the Global Peace Foundation Korea and the president of the International Boxing Federation Asia. He received his master's degree from Columbia University and Doctor of Humanities from the Jose Rizal Memorial State University in the Philippines. In 2012, he was awarded the Medal of Honor here in Malaysia from the Malaysian government for his work strengthening relationships between Malaysia and Korea. I'd also like to acknowledge that he is the creator of the Alllights Village program that you've probably seen out here displayed. He's a master brand creator that the Global Peace Foundation in Korea has a plethora of brands and programs and activities that have really been a model for advancing the mission of the Global Peace Foundation. Not only is alternative energy a compelling need for communities not connected currently to the electrical grid and a vital component of sustainable development, there's probably nothing that symbolizes the work of the Global Peace Foundation more effectively than a solar lantern. Here we have a relatively inexpensive item that harvests the energy of the sun and allows educational, business, and recreational activities to safely continue into the hours of darkness. This really is a central issue and is significant that UN leaders talk about energy as the golden thread that runs through all of the Millennium Development Goals. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. David Yu.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Phillips, and thank you for joining us today. Alllights Village Project launched in 2011. It's only 1.5 years old baby project, and it's our great blessing to have Dr. Phillips as a president for Alllights Village Project on a global scale. Alllights Village Project aims to build sustainable community which can help people in developing countries to overcome the poverty. But this is not just aid project. This is more like partnership project to overcome the poverty. Surprisingly enough, there are, 33% of world populations do not have any benefit using electricity. So when we start this project, we mainly focusing on the villages where there's no electricity. So it doesn't work? Oh, yeah. So we have basically 3 stages. First stage is to give the people fish for free because they have never tasted fish. And the second stage is to let them have the skill to fish. And then the last stage is to help them to have the strategic mindset to catch fish efficiently and effectively. The first stage is to provide solar lantern using solar energy. So this is solar lantern we are distributing to families. If you go to rural area in the developing country, especially in Philippines, they are using kerosene to make a brighter circumstances. But as you know, kerosene is really harmful for your eyes and also for your throat. It causes fire in your house. And I realized that the kerosene is very expensive. Almost 30% of the income goes to buy kerosene. So providing one lantern to each house can solve many problems. They can contribute to have better health. At the same time, as you mentioned, brighter circumstances. At the same time, they can save the money for food and education. So this solar lantern, I know you may know already, but using solar pad, if you charge this outside for 4 hours, you can use this for 10 hours. This is kind of a typical model of appropriate technology. And at first we provide solar lantern without radio, but when we start that one, villagers in Philippines gave us some feedback. Because there's no electricity, they cannot watch TV. And they ask us to listen to radio when they work and also at night. So we ask technicians to put the radio, but we already have electricity, so it doesn't take a long time to make this solar lantern with radio function. When we distribute this lantern, the difference between GPF and other NGOs is we are not just providing lantern. We go there in person and make a sisterhood relationship. The main purpose of the Alllights Village Project is to realize the vision of one family under God. So, not only material, but also they go there and make a sisterhood relationship with local people and have extended the family for example, in Philippines and in Kenya and in other countries. So even after they going back to Korea, they keep communicating with their extended family. Sometimes they invite them to Korea or sometimes they provide some necessity, what they require. So we keep, communicating with them. So this is picture after distributing lantern. They use this for lantern at outside, and also they use this for reading and writing books at night. After 1 year of distributing this lantern, there are many good news from community. So Joey will give explanation more in detail later, but one example is, in Philippines, they have a national academic achievement test, and before this project, the passing rate was about 63%, but after 1 year, it rises up to 85%. So 22 or 23% increase. So that really helped children there to study, more effectively. Mm-hmm. And there's another good result, which I didn't expect. I didn't ever expect. That is, after distributing solar lantern, there's some report from villages saying that thanks to lantern, their birth rate has been decreased, which is really good for overcome poverty. So you can understand why that happened, right? So you can see the before and after. Once you have brighter house, the second stage is to make brighter community. When I visited Kenya 2 years ago, I saw, after 10 minutes drive away from Nairobi, the outside is totally black. So that was motivation for me to initiate this project. If she were my daughter or she were my wife, I never let them go outside. And at that time, I determined that I'm going to provide light to them. And street lamp can really solve that problem. We provide solar pad and LED light. And then villagers prepare post. So after setting up, it looks like this. At night, you have the light. And thanks to that light, even at night, they can get together. And in Kenya, they have a night market. So it is another way of villagers to increase their income. And of course, the crime rate has been decreased thanks to that light. It's a Kenya case. So you can also see the difference between after and before and after. So once you have a brighter house and brighter community, first we're going to provide the electricity. The first and second is providing light, but third is to providing electricity. So this is electricity generator. You can preserve around 400 watts using solar energy. In Nueva Ecija, in Philippines, using this electricity generator, we can operate TV and DVD. It takes about 5 hours to fully charge, and you can use, for example, 32-inch TV at night, about 6 hours. And this is a really good motivation for villagers to have kind of a mindset to work hard to buy this electricity generator to have a better life. So this is a Alllights hall where we use this generator to operate TV. And then we use waste tire to design the community. So painting the waste tire and make playground for children, and also garden for the villages. At first, when we proposed this idea, villagers, mayor and villagers manager opposed to do so, because they say, if you do that, mosquito will increase a lot. But once we show this, then every villagers want to have this garden and also playground. The key of this project is to change people's mindset. So in order to do so, we need education. At the same time, we need a place for villagers get together to discuss how to develop their community. So the third stage is to build community center, Alllights Hall. We provide a certain cash for building, and villagers donate land to build on. And building Alllights Hall, in order to build Alllights Hall, not only Korean volunteers but also villagers in Philippines, they work together from A to Z. Even interior, we do together. So this is the Alllights Hall in Philippines. And also we show photos which can show the villagers how these villages changed after we starting Alllights Village Project. So once we build Alllights Hall, we start to educate people there. Basically 3 components. First one is literacy education. With the help of Department of Education in Nueva Ecija, we provide alternative education programs. And technology education, but more importantly, we provide character education. If you visit some poor area, there's a common thing, that is, they have a really, low self-esteem. So we realize in order to change their mindset, the first step we have to do is to make them to realize how valuable people I am, how valuable people we are. So we, educate them to let them understand the value of, themselves and also their village people. Through this education, we want to cultivate the culture of living for others. And this center is also used for children's. 99% of villagers involved in rice farming. So at that time, they can take care of the children, but there's no place to take care of the children. So they put their children at the Alllights Hall, and teachers take care of them and give education as well. And summer and winter vacation, also Korean college students and Filipino students get together and provide educational session for children there. Even martial arts and art, and then computer education with the help of Educational Department of Philippines. And we started to provide them business model to become self-sufficient. So one example which we are implementing in Philippines is let them have the skill to manufacture organic fertilizer. Before they use chemical fertilizer, but as you know, chemical fertilizer is really harmful for yourself, at the same time degrade the quality of soil. So we teach them how to manufacture organic fertilizer. Once you make this organic fertilizer, the city government and state government purchase everything. Now we we made MOU with Buffalo Center in Philippines. They're using buffalo to do farming. And buffalo has a lot of functions. First, they can produce milk. So if you have a buffalo, you can produce milk and you can sell the milk. And then Buffalo Center in Nueva Ecija, they already promised that they purchase all the milk from villagers. The MOU is about, the villagers in this, farmers in this villages cannot afford to buy buffalo. So we made an MOU and then let them lend female buffalo to each house for free. They educate them how to raise and how to produce milk. So selling milk, they can increase their income, and using dung of buffalo, also they make, as I show, organic fertilizer. This is another source of income. And if she gives birth to baby, then 50% of her income profit goes to farmers, and 50% income goes to Buffalo Center. And some villages, they are operating chicken farms. They are selling eggs at the same time. They are selling chickens. And some villages, they are operating goat farm. So we are introducing this kind of business model for villagers in Nueva Ecija. And also, if you go to Philippines, they have they drink a little bit contaminated water. Before big companies or advanced nations, they provide fancy water purifier, but they can afford to change filter. So instead we provide them this simple but effective water purifier. The first stage is pebble and sand. The second stage is charcoal. But third, that is kind of special cloth coating with chemicals which can protect you from any kind of bacteria. So after it goes through these 3 stages, you can drink water. And beauty of this one is very cheap, less than $10 to have this water purifier. So before they drank this dirty water, but now they can drink this clean water. And this project is, as I mentioned, all about partnership. We are working with Cardinal Rosales in Philippines, and also Cardinal Tagle. He's also very support our project. And recently we launched Global Peace Volunteer Assembly. And the first project is to implement Alllights Village Project at the disaster area by typhoon months ago. And 2 weeks ago, we made an MOU with Habitat for Humanity, and we start to build house for poor villages. It's not free though. Free aiding never change, never make them overcome the poverty. So this housing project, of course, this is really cheap house, but villagers should pay for that. About $10 a month, and total price is about $3,000. So if you work hard at the business model, they have sufficient money to pay for this house. This is groundbreaking ceremony. So all the finance, where we can have this kind of finance, we have corporate donors. For example, Korean Stock Exchange Deposit Company, they donate money, and also they send volunteers to Philippines. So KSD Alllights Village. Now we are talking with Samsung Life Insurance in Indonesia. So Samsung Alllights Village in Indonesia. So the company have their own village in the developing country. And also the middle-sized and small-sized company, even they want to do, they don't know how to do. So instead of they go and have they donate 1% of that net profit to us. So using that money, we finance this project. Because of limit of time, I think I should end my presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yu. And as you notice, this is a relatively new program, and it's amazing in a short period of time, not just what was accomplished in terms of the project aspect, but as he mentioned, some of the significant things that many of us in the room who were in the Philippines just 2 weeks ago noticed, the psychosocial impact on the people in the community, because poverty is not just an economic state. It's a state of mind. And so as he mentioned, raising people up, giving them confidence to drive their own development is very important. The strength and the resilience of communities was again brought home to me 2 weeks ago when we were in the Philippines following the disastrous typhoon. And for the international news media, the devastation was, of course, the main story that we saw in the news. But then in many of their reports, they began to report on how communities were beginning to respond. Andrew Harding, reporting from the BBC from Guiwan, wrote that what's really striking about this town is how quickly the community has come together again, starting to get things done. People may not have insurance here, but they have phenomenal resilience, he said. That resilience, strength, and resourcefulness is what community-based development is all about. And it's those qualities that have largely remained untapped by traditional forms of aid. Today, we're going to be looking at how we can work with values and the culture of local communities in order to nurture their own potential for their own development. Our next speaker is from the Philippines, Mr. Emmanuel, he's commonly known as Don Marquez. Mr. Marquez started out his career in the nonprofit sector in the Philippines through the Social Action Center, Gratia Plena, and he's actually going to be standing in for Father Vergara, who was meant to be here but had other duties that he had to perform in his parish and could not make it here. But Mr. Marquez was a community organizer and researcher with that organization. He served in Nueva Ecija province, north of Manila, for 7 years. That's the same province where the Alllights Village program is. For 7 years, helping out the marginalized sectors like farmers and women's group, and later became part of the Diocesan Formation Center in the Diocese of San Jose. Mr. Marquez also works with Service for Peace Philippines and supports the community development component of Alllights Village, not only in the Philippines, but has a regional responsibility now in Southeast Asia. So I'd like to introduce now Mr. Marquez to give the next presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips, for that introduction. And before presenting to you our current Alllights Village experience in the Philippines and how the program impacted our community partners, of course, through the initiative of the master planner here of Alllights, Mr. David Yu, let me share to you some of the significance of the program in the country. With the achievement of the Philippines Department of Energy through the National Electrification Administration, or NEA, in 2009 of 100% electrification of barangays. Well, barangay is a small community run by a chieftain or a chairman, making it the smallest form of government. And within that coverage areas of the electric cooperatives, the focus of the rural electrification program shifted to a program called Sitio Electrification Program. What is a sitio? A sitio is the next geopolitical unit of a society. It is a territorial enclave that forms part of a barangay, the location of which may be distant from the center of the barangay itself. So the sitio electrification program involves 33,370 sitios that are still unenergized in the Philippines. So this program envisions, the sitio electrification program envisions to energize these sitios through on-grid electrification by 2020. However, the challenge is that, number one is the cost. The cost to energize one sitio is estimated at 1 million pesos, or around US dollar 24,000. A sitio might consist of from 15 to 50 to 80 homes or households. 1 million pesos to electrify the whole community versus the 100,000 pesos, or about how much is that in dollars, for the Alllights Village project. So let's all give them a warm, loud of applause. 1 million from the government, 24,000 US dollars to energize the city versus the Alllights Village of 150 pesos, or 150,000 pesos, or I'm not a math person, or 3,000 US dollars. 3,000 versus 24,000 US dollars. Isn't it a great contribution to the Philippine society and might be replicated in other countries? Since there are 33,370 unlit sitios in the countryside, the total amount is 370 billion is being requested as subsidy fund from the national government. Their target is to energize 90% until 2016. Hence, due to some challenges, the number of sitios unenergized remains the same. It's still 33,370 communities minus the first 18 Alllights Village or 17 Alllights Village that has been done by the GPF Philippines. Another round of applause. In the recent disaster that hit the country, Alllights Village also provided support, as mentioned by Mr. Yu, for the immediate need of lighting up the disaster-stricken areas, especially in the temporary shelter, evacuation centers, and hospitals. GPF gave an initial donation of 4,000 solar lanterns. So with that, the Typhoon Street is no longer, more reason for us, to consider that hopefully in the future, Alllights Village program will extend its services in hardly hit central Philippines. So ALV is one of the programs that respond to the need of the country. The long-standing problem of the big number of Filipinos who are still in darkness and considered a great impediment to our nation's economic growth will certainly be given adequate solution, as our President Benigno S. Aquino III announced in the launching of efforts to find alternative ways of lighting up powerless villages. And just a few weeks after Aquino's speech on the electrification project, the launch of the Department of Energy in Malacanang in January of this year, and the lighting up of the over 33,000 sitios in the country has been supplemented by the Global Peace Festival, or the Global Peace Foundation's Alllights Village Project that started in the province of Nueva Ecija. It doesn't end with solar lamps distribution, as mentioned by Mr. Yu in his presentation. It's the entry point of a more deeper community development program. Let me just share my experience as a community development worker in that same province. my first ever job uh, after I graduated from college. I work in an NGO called Gracia Plena Social Action Center, a Catholic church-based institution that organizes farmers, landless rural workers, women, and youth in Nueva Ecija province, north of Manila, where, of course, Alllights Village is also, that's also the pioneer area. Our approach in the community development is simple. It is anchored from the personhood of the individuals who are members of the association we formed. So what makes it a personal approach? We always start our meetings, whether it is a big meeting, huge, or a small group meetings, with a prayer according to our faith and with our personal life experience. Is there something bothering you with your family, with your work, with your community? Maybe you can share in this small group meeting and see how the members of the team could support or help you. And then the last dynamic would be the business meetings. Hence, this aspect in this circle are being responded to. Like, for example, the social cultural life, because you are socializing with each member of the organization. The personal healing and development, especially if you are very open to share the problems or anything that is bothering you, and the faith life, of course, and the spiritual formation and prayer, and the temporal life, and then discuss with the business meeting the economic issues and the social issues. So these aspects of total, these are actually the aspects of total human developments are tackled. We call the strategy Adamayang Kristiyano, or building small communities of faith, whether you are a Catholic, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a Christian, or whether you are a independent or Protestant. The mandate of Gracia Plena Social Action Center requires its programs to be holistic in approach. Formation and strengthening of Christian values or faith values through activities is a major concern. There are 5 values expected to be strengthened, and these values are the values of life, solidarity, responsibility, freedom, and love for all creation. And with these aspects, the Social Action Center Gracia Plena implements program in following areas, such as, number 1 is people empowerment, with the small faith community formation, community organizing, and cooperative development as main components. Second is the livelihood projects. It's still there in the circle, aimed to provide technical assistance and enterprise development, and organizes agriculture or integrated farming system or agro-industrial development and linkages. And then the third would be health and nutrition, that focused on household gardening, food security, and implementation campaign or food and nutrition. And the last component that we have to strengthen is the environmental preservation, including soil conservation, because Nueva Ecija is an agricultural province, agroforestry, because we have our hills there, and organic agriculture technologies and advocacy. So everything within the process of livelihood and community building in the Alllights Village process is also part of this organization that I've worked with. So people empowerment starts when intended partners or our community partners themselves have a hand in identification, planning, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation of their own projects. That is very, very important. Whenever we give a livelihood projects or non-land-based project, it is very important to consult our partners, because we treat them as partners, not as beneficiaries, like what Alllights Village is also doing. Thus, the program practices the participatory approach to development in order for the organization to build, together with the community, the cycle of growth, and empowerment that gives value to human worth, dignity, and freedom. So like the process being undertaken now by Alllights Village with that same goal, that will be achieved. So to walk us through with the Alllights Village experience, how it was impacted the people of Nueva Ecija, I would like to introduce to you the Global Peace Foundation's program manager or director for the Alllights Village in the Philippines. All right. Ms. Joy Florentino Remigio here, our next speaker, grew up in a poor but good family, and her dream is to alleviate poverty through education and projects to support sustainable livelihoods. A graduate in industrial education, she has served as a lecturer, guidance counselor, volunteer, and human resource manager, educator, and community organizer. Perfect fit for as a program manager of Alllights Village. So let us welcome Ms. Joy Florentino Remigio to share to us the impact of the Alllights Village in the Philippines.
Thank you, Sir Don. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Are you sleepy? Have you ever experienced living in the darkness due to blackout? How about the real experience of living in a community or a village without electricity? Yeah, I was one among those whom I am referring to. I grew up in a remote, near the mountain, crossing many rivers. That's why electricity cannot reach my place at that time. Until I reached 25 years old, that electricity can come to my area. So I am happy to report or to share with you what is happening in Alllights Village Project in the Philippines. I guess this project is very timely for my country, as the President Aquino once said, that renewable energy is very vital for development of my nation, of Philippines per se. And for your information, there are more than 30,000 sitios or small villages that are unenergized. Timely that Global Peace Foundation Korea and Global Peace Foundation Philippines married for this program, the Alllights Village Project. As we all know, there are a lot of issues or concerns needed to be addressed in the entire world that we are living in, like the absence of electricity. There are 1.9 billion people suffering or living in such areas. Another is the effect, health problem, environment problem, and illiteracy or problem with regards to education. So I believe all of us here right now are pretty much concerned of how to contribute, how to take part in the solution of all these problems of the world that we are living in. I guess Dr. Yan Jinmun's vision of one family under God. This is the main point of why I am so much inspired and committed despite the hardships and difficulties in handling this program. I'll tell you later on. However, let us really not just watch, rather let us take part in solving these issues, since we came from different parts of the world. And I guess with the presence of Alllights Village Project, we can address, we can add solution to what initiative our government is doing in every aspect that these issues or concerns or problems are existing. So Alllights Village Project, Alllights Village, it's not just a project, but a movement to build a model villages embodying the vision of one family under God. So therefore, this is a substantive peace activities, or we say the flagship program of Global Peace Foundation, carrying out in order to build model communities. Yeah, it's very challenging because as our master planner and creator of Alllights Village program, Dr. David Yu mentioned, this is just a baby project since it's just more than a year. However, we can see the great potential and clear roadmap how Alllights Village program can really help a nation in solving many or various issues and concerns. Yeah, ideally, a village, no, there should be a harmonious existence of human being and its environment. And people living in that village should really practice one family under God values by co-sharing, coexistence, and stewardship. The villagers must achieve a sustainable development. To report, there are 2,377 families benefited from this Alllights Village Project initiated by GPF Korea in partnership with GPF Philippines and the rest of other partners that we have. We started this in 2011 at the municipality of Palembang, Sultan Kudarat in Mindanao. Yet, indeed, our partners from Korea would like to be immersed in the community. So the issue in Mindanao is security for our partners. So there are 120 families, recipient. In 2011, December, we proceed to Sarangani, the province of Manny Pacquiao, if you know him, benefiting 100 families. So after seeing the situation of Mindanao, though it is really very, Mindanao is much more qualified to receive Alllights Village Project because the entire more than 30,000 villages which are unenergized in the Philippines, majority are located in Mindanao. Yet, we would like to create a model case, not just distribution of solar lantern, as Dr. David you mentioned, but a community development program that can spread or expand to the rest of the Philippines. So it's not easy to look for an area to pilot that they need also to counterpart or to invest. aside from the investment of GPF Korea, from the effort of GPF Philippines, that government or local government must invest too. However, it was accepted by the province of Nueva Ecija, aside from many other provinces I have tried to propose for this program. So the province of Nueva Ecija accepted the Alllights Village program to be implemented in the unenergized villages. And while we are developing our pilot villages in Nueva Ecija, so there is, with the goodness of Cardinal Rosales, who is really helping us as the patron of Alllights Village, and with the cooperation and support as well of the local government of other two provinces in southern part of Luzon. That is Laguna and Batangas. So we expanded Alllights Village program in those areas. Nueva Ecija is having 13 Alllights villages. Majority of this were supported by Korea, and due to the initiative of Cardinal Rosales and GPF Philippines and Korea, we started inviting or encouraging local donors or sponsors to really help and support our own fellow men in this country. That's why we could arrive having three Alllights villages named after these local donors, aside from our Korean partners. Anyway, just to inform you, this is how I work in order to organize the Alllights Village projects in the Philippines. Yeah, the letter of intent to our partners, and then after the acceptance, it's the coordination meeting with the head of the city down to the planning office and other agencies that will be involving in the program, like the DSWD, the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Energy. So, as you know, all of these villages which are unenergized are really far. They are far-flung sitios or villages, like 10 kilometers away from the downtown or the barangay proper of a certain place. Like the first Alllights Village, I was really, when I ocular the area, I have to validate whether it will be qualified for the program. So there is no means of transportation that is existing except if you own a motorcycle or if you have your own carabao, something like this. So since I have to ocular and I have to validate, so I don't bring any car at all. So I have to take a walk. So that's how this preparation for the social preparation is going on. So mapping in order to check the situation of every family. We go house to house and we give orientation about Global Peace Foundation and about Alllights Village Project. We organize the village. If they don't have that set of officers that is really managing or organizing any activity in the area, we have to have focus group discussion to know the need of the community and to plan for whatever future program or project. So brotherhood and sisterhood ceremony is much implemented by the time our Korean brothers and sisters are coming to the Philippines for in adapting a certain community. Yeah, these are like the villages in, as you can see this picture, the area is flooded, you know. I just learned, when I checked, it was dry. But when the project started, it's flooded already. And these people, there are 78 families living 6 months of a year. They are living on top of the water, on top of the water, in a flooded area like this. So this is the process. When we install the solar street lamps, the local government or village people will provide the steel posts. Of course, education is the cornerstone of their development. Majority of people in the villages are really uneducated. So therefore, GPF Philippines underwent a training from the Department of Education in order to become an accredited service provider of alternative learning system, or we call the non-formal education, so that we can reach and educate our brothers and sisters in Alllights villages. So the Department of Education provides teachers, while GPF Korea donates modules. So in order to implement this program in the village. So these are the teachers of Alllights villages. And of course, it is very important for our stakeholders and partners to be at the same page with us in order to drive the development of the community. So all of our stakeholders are attending or having a quarterly capability building workshop so that we can know what to improve and develop in the community. So in having these facilities, it's teamwork between donors and villagers to make it happen. So before economic development, we train the officers of Alllights villages to undergo the formation of their own cooperative, because I believe this is one good entry point where more partners can come in to really invest in Alllights villages. So they go through the training of the government before we introduce the livelihood projects or program for their economic development. Yeah, this is what our Dr. David Yu was explaining a while ago. There is vermicomposting or vermiculture livelihood project in the 4th Alllights village. In the 1st and 5th Alllights village is goat farming. And soon next year, we will start with the dairy product livelihood project. Yeah, of course, it is important for evaluation and monitoring from us and from the rest of our partners in order that we can really develop and improve the situation and condition of our Alllights villages. Yeah, these are other projects. The water purifier, this is a partnership housing project by the local government, by the national government, which is the community mortgage program, giving loan to our Alllights village families, the Habitat Philippines, GPF Philippines, and GPF Korea. Yeah, in the province of Nueva Ecija, it is very important to inform everyone that due to this Alllights village program, we gain the trust of the parliamentarians in the local area. So therefore, they have really respected Global Peace Foundation. And they passed a resolution accrediting Global Peace Foundation and Alllights Village program to pursue this public-private partnership. Beginning, of course, for next year, we still have to lay down all our clear plans. But I have received proclamation or declaration from the governor that by 2015, GPF is entitled or will be very instrumental in helping different towns or cities of the province where the funding will pass through the Global Peace Foundation and then implement this to the different villages or cities and municipalities. So yeah, the Department of Education assess our Alllights Village impact to the formal education of the children living in the Alllights villages, that all these children increase in their respective grades. And so with the national achievement tests from 63% to 85% rate that they have achieved. So I believe there is nothing impossible if we all agree that we must live and we must step forward as one family under God. Thank you.
A lot of rich content by all of the speakers. But just one thing that I'd like to highlight, and this is I think the important contribution that the Global Peace Foundation is making to economic development and or a holistic approach to human development. You know, in the world of economic development, there's an increasing recognition that there is a link between cultural values as opposed to self-interest. And this is important because most of the liberal economics is based upon the idea that if you give people enough freedom and they're able to pursue their self-interest, that's what leads to economic growth. But many economists today have come to argue that the economic policies based on this understanding of just increasing freedom for self-interest produces the same result, regardless of the cultural values. However, the economic success of Asia on one hand and the failure of economic development in Africa on the other hand are leading to serious consideration of the link between cultural values and economic growth. It's gradually becoming recognized that self-interest actually works against community development, since a healthy community depends upon the individual considering the needs of the whole. And again, this is where I think the Global Peace Foundation's emphasis on the family is important. The family is the model for the community, a group of people who place the benefit of the whole above narrow self-interest. In a vibrant community, individuals and families recognize the value of contributing to the greater good of the community. And I think this is very well demonstrated in the model that's provided by the Alllights Village program. Our next speakers will build on that. They both come from Africa. First, I'll introduce both of them, and then they'll come up and share their presentation. First, I'll introduce Ms. Elaine Wachuka-Hurt. Elaine is an international development professional with 7 years experience in implementing programs and developing curricular training surrounding social entrepreneurship, capacity building, community-based development, volunteerism, and agriculture. She's implemented diversity training recommendations for the United States Peace Corps. She served as a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer in Madagascar. She built private-public partnerships with international NGOs, created health education programs for victims of sexual-based tourism, worked with community-based organizations for at-risk youth in Kenya, and contributed to the UN Peacebuilding Directory for East and Central Europe and the CIS, and supported women and minorities in elected office. We're fortunate to have her now working as the Alllights Village Program Coordinator in East and West Africa. She's going to be joined in her presentation by Mr. Donald Bodzo. He began his career in international development sector as a young entrepreneur in Zimbabwe. While he was a university student, he founded a social enterprise that received international recognition and awards from organizations such as the International Youth Foundation, Youth Action Net, Nokia, Starbucks Foundation, and the Sylvain Laureate Foundation. Donald worked with Service for Peace and the Grameen Foundation in Washington, D.C. as an Atlas Corps Fellow. He's also the founder and executive director of an organization called Panhari in Zimbabwe, which focuses on empowering youth through providing economic and learning opportunities. He has more than 6 years' experience in managing programs and projects that especially focus on youth development and entrepreneurship. He also has skills in program monitoring and evaluation, community development, and grants writing. He holds an undergraduate degree in applied environmental science and a master's degree in sustainable development, policy and management. We're also fortunate to have him working in the Alllights Village program as a program coordinator for the international office based in the USA. So without further ado, welcome them up to give the final presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. This afternoon, Elaine and myself are going to present on community mapping guidelines. It's such a bad time of the day to do a presentation when we've all had a very long day. So I promise that it will be very brief and hopefully, cover some of the key important aspects in our presentation. With that, I would like to ask Elaine to just go right ahead.
As Donald said, thank you for having us and allow us a bit more time to just share on some of the topics that were mentioned. I don't know how to make this work very well, but we will start with the, Okay, so you've heard a lot about the Alllights Village. A bit about myself, as you've heard, I was a volunteer first. I studied development. I wanted to get an idea of what development in large looks like on the ground, especially when it's supposed to inform a lot of policy. So I studied in the US and I'm from Kenya, so I went back to Kenya to see how to do development, and especially sustainable development, which is a word that's thrown around a lot. It's a term that's used a lot, but nobody really explains what makes development sustainable. Working with Service for Peace first and also with Global Peace Foundation, I was lucky enough to be allowed by the community to do mapping. And the good thing with mapping is that you really get to understand how to make the project work. As Doctor, you mentioned, when you step foot into a community, you really hope that there's going to be some kind of ownership. You really hope that you can leave them with this project, that they see it as their own project and not just something you've come and dumped on them, decided maybe they need goats or they need chickens or they need greenhouses, but that they themselves decide that they want it. So a lot of the times in our projects in Kenya, and Donald will talk about in Zimbabwe, we begin the entire Alllights project with a mapping activity. We go in with a team, mostly Kenyan. We ask the community, we explain to the community first about Alllights, the vision of Global Peace Foundation, the concept of one family under God, and then we sit down with a lot of stakeholders because you usually need somebody in government as well as somebody in local government to help the process along. We sit down with all parties, youth, the elderly, and we just kind of see where everybody's at, what they need, and then we let them inform us on what we can do with the Alllights project that will also work for them. So I wanted to just kind of share a bit about that instead of going through the entire PowerPoint presentation. We'll have another session tomorrow at 11 for more questions. I know some of you have questions that you wanted answered as well. And then Donald can share about his process in Zimbabwe.
Okay, thanks, Elaine. Well, in Zimbabwe, we don't have the Alllights Village program. Instead, I'll just briefly share about a program that I started about 4 years ago when I was a student at the University of Zimbabwe. It was around 2008, and my father is a farmer, and at that time, if some of you probably know, Zimbabwe was going through an economic crisis, and for farmers, including my father, it was a very difficult and tough experience to, purchase inputs such as fertilizer. So I started with two other colleagues who were my classmates, a program where we were just going around villages and collecting cow dung and cattle manure, and then went back with that to the university, did some lab tests with the support of our professors, and developed an organic fertilizer, which also I think, David, you mentioned. And we started distributing that for free initially in some of the local communities in Zimbabwe. And that project actually grew and developed over a year, and we got recognition from the university and from the government. And from then on, I started working with more students and developing other projects, social entrepreneurship projects, in cross-cutting sectors from health to agriculture and so forth. And just last year, we then started getting international recognition from organizations such as the MasterCard Foundation, International Youth Foundation, and our program has grown. But our process coming back to this is just pretty much the same. How do you encourage participants or local people to work with you on a project? So what we basically do is when we go into communities, like what Elaine mentioned and what some of the other presenters mentioned as well, the first thing is to engage them and allow them to be the drivers of their own local development, and perhaps utilize their own local resources, and asking them to make the decisions locally, and then work with them step by step from the process of community mapping to developing the program, to even bringing other external partners in the process. So I think I'll just end there because of our time, and just ask Elaine also to just give the last word before we finish.
Thank you, Donald. And if the panelists will allow, maybe we can take one or two questions that you might have about the Alllights project, or how it might work in your communities, or any questions in general about development at large. If there are any, I'm sure there are. Yes, please.
Okay, so it's gotta be big and good. Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's very, very interesting to see the Alllights Village, especially from Mr. David, Dr. David in the beginning. Yeah, there are like all the programs there, and it's very surprising to see that it's just 1+ year old. I think it's very impressive. Then I found out that the funding came from CSR, which is 1% from the profit. Is very, very nice. But the question is, I'm also running a social business in Indonesia, in form of education and microfinance combined. And what I learned being an NGO, especially without that many networks, it's difficult to scale up fast. And looking at the impact that you created, it would be wonderful to be able to scale up fast. Is going forward, it's still going to be like donation based, or do you have plan to make it like more social business? Because if you can cover all the costs yourself, especially if you can make an attractive return, you can do much faster. That probably you have done it, but I just haven't catch it. Good. Thank you so much.
Excellent question. Now there are three sources of financing. First one is individual donor. We have CMS member. They donate certain amount of money at regular basis. For example, at least $10 per month. And we have around 3,000 members for this project in Korea. That is one source. The second one is, as I mentioned, corporations, donors. Before, Korean companies, they visit several countries to build a house, or to build a school, or to build a hospital. But they realize that it doesn't make any change. So they are more interested in community building. And Alllights Village is, they believe this is the best program for them. So they start to join. So that become much larger and larger. And last part is our headquarters. Our GPF Foundation headquarters support us. But as you mentioned, in order to scale up, I mean, we don't want to just make a self-sufficient, several self-sufficient village in Philippines. We want to expand this model into many countries as possible. But in order to so, we really need finance, right? Then one of way for us to do is to, as you mentioned, we have our own companies to support this. You may call social enterprise. And before, for example, providing solar lantern, we purchased from companies in Korea. And there's two reasons why we decided we produce this product by ourselves. First one is quality issue. You know, we never satisfy their quality. The second point is, as you mentioned, in order to scale up this project, we will need, we have the sustainable financial source. So we decide to, manufacture this product, and now our product is actually produced by GPF Korea. But so far, we're really focusing on making a good model in Nueva Ecija. So rather than expand this model into other nations, we really focusing on making good example in Philippines. So that means still our needs for lantern is very small. So, so far we couldn't make any profit from this company. But if once we make a good example here, then we want to expand this model into other nations. Now, many countries in South America and also in Asia, Southeast Asia and Africa, they want this project to implement their nation. So probably next year, we can start to expand this model, right? In that case, we can make a certain profit from this company. Then that profit go into this project.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. If there are any more questions in the audience?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Actually, this is not a question. I just want to share the little modest experience we have had in terms of lighting, because that's the focus. No? Every 10 years, I serve my home region of Mindanao. In 1976, I was the executive director where we organized what is now the ARMM, the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. I was the executive director that organized the whole machinery. At that time, fighting was still going on between our forces and the MNLF. And evacuees from the hinterlands had to come to town, because of the fighting. And so because of the displacement, we have to come up with immediate housing projects, bank houses, all of this. And so we needed, lighting. So for every room, we were able to put 2 bulbs at least. So a child, can read his lessons for the following day, and also for cooking, purposes of the parents and all that. Unfortunately, when this was implemented, some of our forces came down, and I think they had a heavy casualty during the fighting, and one of them just sprayed bullets, in the bunk houses, and one child holding a cassava cake, one of the beneficiaries of this lighting was killed. So I was in Manila when this was reported to me. I was very sad about it. 10 years after, I became governor of my province of my mother, Tawi-Tawi. We are now in the 21st century. Many of the villages there, you call maybe villages, we call it barangays, have never seen an electric bulb up to today. it's criminal to me. You know, we are now in the 21st century. And I know this because I was governor there. And so when I flew into Tawi-Tawi to serve as a governor, my first day, it was all dark in the streets. I said, what's happening to this province? They had 2 generating sets, but not functioning. And so I immediately mobilized my Corps of Engineers, the provincial development staff, and looked into this with me, directing them, and only to find out that some spare parts were needed to be replaced and all that. So the following day, we had this Swift Air, only plane that time, shuttling between Zamboanga City and Tawi-Tawi. I flew in to Zamboanga City with my 2 engineers for this, consultation with the Zamboanga Electric Company for what else is needed. So we came back and we repaired the 2 generating sets. The problem was we didn't have, these fluorescent lamps and all that, and wiring, post. So the brigade commander at that time was a good friend of mine, Colonel Durano. I hope he's still alive today. Was very progressive. I said, we don't have this, but can I have an IOU? Sign as governor, then we pay you, and we get our budget because we don't have budget for this kind of purpose. And so we did. Within 48 hours, but no, within 24 hours, we were able to light the hospital. There were patients there, and there was no lighting. So the my immediate priority I had was the hospital, then the street lighting. In 48 hours, we were able to light the entire streets. But it took, before that, it took about 1 week for my engineering corps to remove the pipes that were perforated with bullets by the MNLF outside of those that were rusting. They have to start from one island, it's a separate island to the poblacion, to remove all of this and replace them with new ones, I think it took them about 4 days and 4 nights, 24 hours, because I told them this is a priority, you have to do this. And after more than 300 of those pipes were removed, and we had the generating set activated, and we have the generator right there in Sanga, that's where the airplane, lands. We were able to light the town. That's how difficult it was. Now, the last experience I had, just highlight, when I was administrator of the Southern Philippines Development Authority, overseeing the entire development of Mindanao, Sulu and Palawan. There was this flash flood, I think a little tidal wave that hit Tawi-Tawi, particularly the island municipality of my mother, Tandubas. One island barangay was almost entirely swept away. These are houses on stilts. And so there was no electricity. I just hope and pray that we had this, this lighting you have now, this solar lighting. So I was out of my wits and where to get, this lighting. So I sent an aide to Zamboanga and let him buy as many flashlights as he can. That was, needed at the time. So we bought 100 or so flashlights, and in the evening, people from outside of that barangay thought that there were many fireflies, hovering in that barangay. These were all flashlights as an immediate, lighting. Then later on, we went into lamps because we didn't have the solar lighting. So this all lighting, all lights initiative is a step in the right direction, more than timely. And hopefully, with your initiative and the support of the Global Peace Foundation and of course the communities involved and the leadership, we'll be able finally, not anymore reaching the 22nd century, but in the 21st century, many of those rural communities, island barangays, have not even seen an electric bulb, moreover, lighting their houses. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to thank all of our panelists for their contributions. And as Elaine mentioned, we will have a workshop session at 11 o'clock, and we'll allow more time to Elaine and Donald to offer their presentations. So I hope that if you have time that you'll join us tomorrow at 11. So please join me in appreciating the panel once again. And also I'd like to show appreciation to you for your patience as we started late and went a little bit over, and for your commitment to the program, being here all the way till the end. So give yourselves a hand as well. Thank you.